Have you guys ever heard of Vermintide? One of the most popular co-op games on Steam at the moment. It takes the Warhammer fantasy universe and puts you in this Left 4 Dead style fight to the death arena, going through different missions, fighting through the lore of ogres, Skaven, chaos, and boy is it a hack and slash gore fest. While Vermintide and Vermintide 2 are some of my favourite multiplayer games, we've got something exciting coming up this year. They're taking it into 40k with Warhammer Darktide. A huge shout out to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Opera GX is the world's first browser for gamers, specifically PC gamers. You can take full control of how much RAM and CPU usage the browser is using, making sure that it doesn't take up any of your all-important PC juice. This is all done through GX Control. You can even set limiters to complete your experience. Additionally, you get all the latest gaming news and it will be right at your fingertips, and your browser will show you when the next big release is coming, all ready to go, meaning you'll never miss another hot topic in the gaming world. Furthermore, you can integrate Twitch, Discord, WhatsApp, Messenger, whatever you want into the browser, giving you all the notifications you need when your favorite streamers go live or get straight up messages from your Discord channels. Opera GX is completely free, and what's more, is fully customizable with all the best colors and setups that you could ever want. Hey, I logged into my YouTube Music and I could start playing some nice jazz tunes as I did some work on my browser, and it was all integrated into one. So please, click the link in the description if you want to go and check it out, and it's completely free, so there's no reason not to. Let me know down below how it's helped your experience on your gaming journey. So let me give you a little bit of background before we go deep into what actually we can expect from the upcoming game. Vermintide came out quite some time ago now. It was the first real big IP from Fat Shark, a group of developers that are massive Warhammer fans, and they wanted to take this Left 4 Dead style 4-player co-op working through mission style gameplay into the fantasy universe, playing as mages, rangers, big hulking masses, and sword-wielding tanks. You can pick between certain characters that all have different abilities, whether using magic or bows or axes or guns. Fighting against the Skaven, players will immerse themselves in this world, and it was incredible at the time, and because of this it warranted a sequel. When Vermintide 2 came out, it was unlike anything else before, expanding on the original by keeping the Skavens yet adding in chaos now, harder, more difficult enemies. It ramps up the hardcore level and makes an experience that is something that you have to do with friends, because it is one of the funnest multiplayer experiences you'll have on PC. You can see by the gameplay in the background of Vermintide 2 how satisfying cutting through Skaven and chaos it is. I love playing as the ranged characters, using my bow and being able to rapid fire arrows or precisely aim through with stronger shots that can penetrate through multiple enemies at once, or whipping out my heavy two-handed weapon and be able to swipe from side to side, chopping off limbs and decapitating heads. It is so much fun. It is the definition of a game that is orientated around the player's experience. It's not looking to tell an in-depth and intricate story, it's looking towards bringing people together to have an immense amount of enjoyment. So this takes us on to Darktide. Fat Shark are releasing their 40k variant sometime in 2021. Of course, it takes that Vermintide style gameplay and puts it into the 41st millennium, the more popular IP in Games Workshop's roster. Of course, it brings back that 4-player co-op, very similar to Left 4 Dead, moving through different levels, but now we're in the hive city of Tertium. As you might expect, being 40k, we don't just have melee combat anymore, bringing in some proper gunplay. Now, there was some basic guns with some shotguns and things in the first and second Vermintides. Now we have some real ADS type gunplay with some semi-automatic and automatic rifles, much what you would expect from the Imperium classes of the 40k Warhammer. But hold your horses, we still do have that incredibly satisfying melee combat making a return with things like blades and of course chainswords and power weapons. But forget the Skaven, forget all the enemies that we fought before. Now in the hive city of Tertium, it has been overrun by chaos cultists, and it is our job as a crack team to exterminate them. Heavily outnumbered of billions of people within this hive city, it is up to you and 3 of your friends to eliminate anyone you can find that seems to be causing trouble. I cannot wait to don my armor, to pick up my weapon, and to slice through hordes and hordes of enemies with the most satisfying combat that I have ever played. It's focusing much more on the characters of the Imperial Guardsmen. We also have an Ogren type character as well to pick, who will be a much stronger, more melee orientated hero. As I mentioned, we can see chainswords, we can see fancy power swords, all given their very authentic and very faithfully recreated from the tabletop game. The design, especially on the Imperial Guardsmen, I think looks incredible. And once again, Fat Shark are bringing back that emphasis on bloody, gory combat. They are not holding back any bars, and they are definitely not releasing it as a Blood and Gore DLC. Looking at you, Creative Assembly, they don't care. You can chop off arms, you can chop off legs, you can chop off heads, or you can do all of the above. Whatever way you feel fit to take down these chaos plagues, you can do it within this game. There'll be puzzles that you're going to have to sort out, and of course those storylines where you can work your way through the levels picking up collectibles, and of course I'm assuming some type of potions or levels up, much like you can do in the original Vermintide. But let's look a little bit more into the enemies themselves. As I mentioned, we're of course not going to Skaven, that's not 40k, but we will have some amazing demon dogs, as we can see in the gameplay, some plague poxwalkers, which I think will be the main enemies, and some chaos cultists as like. Now we have had some hints at what some of the big bosses will be, and it looks like it's going to be a plague ogrin who is absolutely brutal, and if it's anything like the big bosses that you can get in Vermintide 2, they are so difficult to take down, and you really need your full team working together using that each individual abilities in order to take down these hulking masses. But if you've played the original Vermintide, if you don't really care about 40k, why would you pick up the Darktide variant? You see, they're very similar in terms of gameplay styles. You can see mostly from the trailers that we've seen that they've taken a lot over from the two games that they've made previously, especially when it comes to melee combat and how the mechanics work. Well, there's some pretty big differences actually between these two games. Darktide is looking to focus more around the horror genre, moving through the hive city in the dark with only your flashlights and your wits about you. The poxwalkers are not going to be like the Skaven. They're not just going to charge at you as soon as they've seen you. They're going to be a bit cleverer, sneaking around and finding the right moments to attack and pounce on their enemies. They're also going to work together a lot more. It seems like they've improved the AI in order to focus more on the 40k type battles, and this is where it gets exciting. As I mentioned, we're focusing more on horror, which brings in the inclusion of a new mechanic called blackouts. When you're moving through the levels and doing certain missions, whole sections of the map can be plunged into darkness without a flashlight and without anything to find your way. Only gunshots and laser bolts in order to light the caverns that are in front of you, and you've got to find a way out. There will also be some cool inclusions like acid rain that are going to come down on you in certain points of the map that you're going to have to hide for while still defending yourself from the oncoming slaughter hordes. It's going to be an incredibly intense experience. Now, we don't know all that much about all the extra mechanics, but that's what we've been told so far. Another cool addition is more focus on stealth. The original Vermintide didn't really have that many stealth mechanics that meant that every time you do a mission, you have to go loud and proud. But this time, you're able to stealth past. As I mentioned, the poxwalkers are going to be a bit better. The AI is going to be more sneaky at how they approach each situation, which means you can as well. Maybe it's a better idea to sneak past the enemies. If you're so heavily outnumbered that you don't think even you and your team could take them, this is your way forward. And I think that's an incredible inclusion in the mechanics, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I love the first two Vermintide games. I have more hours on them than most other games in my library, and it's one of my favourite franchises at the moment. And boy, I cannot wait for it to go into the 40k universe and fight for the Imperium in the 41st millennia. But what do you guys think? Please leave your comments down below. Do you think it's going to translate just as well as it had in Warhammer Fantasy to 40k, or do you think this could be a massive flop? I can't wait for more information and gameplay to be released, so I'll be sure to bring it to you guys. So please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't, but subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you in the next one.